Hello, my name is Owen. I'm the creator of Donk, and this video is all about giving tips on new players trying to make a deck, or really to help out anyone. So today I'm gonna teach you how to go from just a bunch of random cards to an actually decent deck. It'll look like one at least. So this video is gonna be kind of interesting because it's definitely gonna be one of the more important videos. I mean, I'm making these videos all in preparation of the April trade and play event, but I think that this video would be useful even after that. So yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, I will only be using cards that have been released and that will be released at the time of that April event. And a lot of the cards I will be using will be black and white, and this will be the cards that will be spread out on the table, or people who don't have the cards or need more cards can, gather and make their decks. So anyway, before you start making your decks, I do recommend a few things. So first of all, sleeves are a very important part of this, especially if you were using professionally made sleeves or professionally made cards and paper cards, because they're just important. I have some Ultra Pro cool looking sleeves here that I'm going to be using in this video. I don't even know where I got them from. They're most likely Ultra Pro deck protectors, but if they're not, don't blame me. I don't even know where I got them from. I think they were gifted to me. Anyway, so yeah, sleeves. Just to be safe, I'm gonna count out 40 of them. That's 26 there. 28. 32. 36. 40. Alright. So, I will be making a 30 to 40 card deck today. I will give some tips for smaller decks as we go through this. So if you're thinking about making a smaller deck because you just kind of want to, I'll be giving you some tips for that. I will say right now, smaller decks are definitely not my style, but obviously my game's versatile enough to be where pretty much you could do what you want. But just know, my humble opinion, I do not prefer smaller decks over larger decks. Even Dalton, who was making a larger deck or a smaller deck, he has like a 20 or so card deck that he likes using. I still would say a larger deck is better. Anyway, so sleeves, and then of course the most important part, Donk cards. So in order to really understand anything in this video, I think I would need to explain a few basic rules of the game to get anyone who doesn't know how to play some basic context. So this is a Donk card. If you're watching this video, you should already know that, but whatever. When you make a deck, the goal is to play Donk, but in order to win the game, you have to defeat a certain number of enemies, or get your opponent to run out of their cards first, But to do that, you need a little bit of strategy sense, and I'll explain some basic rules of Donk right now. So attacker cards, they have a sword right below the shield with the number. There we go. So that right there. This is an attacker type. Let me quickly find a different card type. There we go. Okay, so this card is a archer type because it does have that bow symbol in the same spot where the sword was. There's two others. There's a defender and a mage. The mage has an interesting design and the defender has a shield. It would be important to know that there are two other card types. There are item cards, which have this design. It's one big line. And then, permanent or temporary down here, amount of time they cost, and the name. And then there are also tool cards like this. Inks Brush, first generation. It's very obvious it's a tool card because it has a little tool picture right there. Anyway, now I'm going to get into really the criteria that you should meet when you're building decks. So all decks cannot exceed 40 cards. So for anyone thinking of like Pokemon card terms or Magic the Gathering terms, you cannot make a greater deck than 40 cards, but you can make a deck that's less than 40 cards. So your opponent could have like a 40 card deck, and then you could come in with like a 20 card or a 30 card deck. That's totally fine. That's what makes Donk so customizable, because really you could make all sorts of strategies with different card decks. Smaller deck makes it easier for the cards that you want to find to be found. Another thing to note is that you cannot have more than 4 cards of the same name and stage. So for example, I'm looking in my deck, and I'm bringing up 4. So out of all my deck, I do have a 40 card deck. There's only 4 of these guys, and this guy is familiar face 1 out of 3. All of them say 1 out of 3, and I do not have any other familiar face 1 out of 3s in my deck. I can have 4 familiar face 2 out of 3s as well, because they're not the same stage as the 1 out of 3. So keep that in mind. So if there was like a Candle Knight that had 3 stages, you could have 12. So you could have 4 Candle Knight stage 1s, 4 Candle Knight stage 2s, and 4 Candle Knight stage 3s. It's the same thing with tools and item cards, except for one. For one item card, there is a difference. There is a different little piece of criteria with item cards, and that is the fact that, if you say it on there, you can have up to 8 of these in your deck. Because Blacksmith's Blessing happens to be one of the more important cards, item cards, and it's required for doing a certain mechanic in the game, it makes sense that you need more if your deck is focused on that. So today we'll be making a deck that will be mainly attacker focused, but I will be using all of the types. I'm using this white background for contrast against these cards, because the black background would not be too good. So for an example of a deck, I'm going to show off my deck. My deck is definitely not something to be, I mean, I like my deck, but I wouldn't say that it doesn't have any cards that no one has accessed yet. All of these cards, people will, at some point, have already gotten access to by April, so I guess I'll break my deck down. I do have Familiar Face. I have Ink Traveler, that is a mage. You can tell by their interesting design on here. Here's a newer card. This is the card from the event pack, so you can only get this at the event, but I put it in here because people at the event would be playing games, therefore they could have access to these cards. I do have Keeks, which is a newer card. It came in the newest batch. Another event pack card. Here's an interesting one. I do have Dino from the Dino Mango set that released last September. You can use Dino Mango cards, you know. You can also use Halloween cards. Any cards that really have all the components of a normal card. The only thing missing from here is an element, but they're still completely game legal, okay? Anyway, here's a tool, Doodle, the first Doodle Festive. This, for anyone that hasn't seen this, this was a promo that Dalton handed out. Keeks, Doodle the First. Pirate of Serenity is another one of those event pack promos. This is the free card that everyone gets when they attend the event. Here's Mango from Dino Mango. Smartphone, Forest. The Travel was another card that was handed out. I think this was handed out near Dalton's birthday. So, Sam, So all these cards have been released. So this deck is totally fair to play. I'm not going to release the deck list just yet. I will write it down if someone ever asks me to at the event, but I will not release it on this video. Because not all the cards in that deck will be available on the event. But all the cards in these black and white cards that I have here, and some of them are colored, but not all of them, these will all be available. So, another thing to note is there are three different formats in Donk. One of them I'm not going to go over at all, actually. It's called the custom format. It's kind of make your own rules, but since we're not making decks for custom format, obviously I'm not going to include it in this video. So, the most commonly used format is known as standard, because it is the standard format. Very self-explanatory. So, standard is very good for newer players who just got into the game recently. Cards can get banned, and there have been card bans, so know that. But I don't think anyone really owns the cards that have been banned. So right now it's pretty much any card goes that I just said. So the main set, Dino Mango, and the Halloween set. Those are the three that are allowed. I'm not allowing any others right now. They have not been, made compatible with this style of playing yet, so keep that in mind. You can only make decks from those. Any cards you've gotten previously, so the Paradox, so the first set that Dalton was able to sell, you cannot use those. You cannot use Tiny Donk or whatever. So keep that in mind. Anyway, let's start. I did make a deck previously, so I think I can't remember where I put it. Whatever. So this is like a humongous stack of cards, And this is an even huger stack of cards. Look at this. So these are all cards that people will have access to. There will be about 6 of these stacks in total that I will be putting out for display. You can use any of them. And so the deck that I make here will be accessible to really anyone. So keep that in mind. Anyway, the first card that I will be adding is Familiar Face Universe 2. I've been playing, I think I've played about 10 games this week with some people, and I love this card. I love it so much. I'm glad that I made it. It is a really good D rank, and by the way, when the game starts, you get 2 time, and yeah, 3 time. So you're able to place a D rank card or a C rank card, because C ranks cost 3, D ranks cost 2. The point of the deck, or what you're looking for in a deck, is a variety of things, but a basic goal is for you to place cards fast, so you get your time generation up. So each card placed on your playmat is an increase in your time generation. So the more cards placed, the better. And getting that at the start is nice. This card is a D rank, but it has some nice stats, and its ability lets you kind of dodge, like it kind of lets you have other cards dodge attacks, which is really important. That will be, I think I'll have like 20 of these Familiar Faces out, just because they're pretty nice. Okay, on second thought, I will not be making, hold on. Okay, I will make the basis of the deck. I will write it down. No, I won't write it down, but I will kind of go over it with everyone, or with this video, so you get the idea of how to make a deck, because for some reason, I think I lost the frame I was using. I don't even know where it is. Hold on. Let me just look through these cards a bit. Another reason why you should sleeve your decks. They'll be really easy to find compared to all your cards. I think I found it. Have I found it? I think I have found it. Okay. Yes, I have found it. So, now I can't tell. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Whatever. I guess I'll just make a deck from scratch. So, one good idea is to get a bunch of D ranks, which I would say, in my opinion, Familiar Face is definitely the best D rank. So if you're going to put any D rank in to your deck, I would suggest it to be Familiar Face 1 out of 3 specifically. It's really fast to place down, does not require much. I'm actually going to put 4 copies of this card into my deck if I can find them fast enough, which I can. There's 3. One more. So Familiar Face's ability is that he can swap with any card if it were to get attacked, which is crazy, meaning if an important card were to get whatever it is, if a card were about to get attacked, you just dodge. You just dodge the attack completely. Okay, now I can't find one. This is another one of those times I wish I'd planned things out. Whatever. So, yeah, you can dodge attacks. Very, very useful in my opinion. Definitely a card to look for when you are really doing anything. And if he is to be used against you, my advice to you is just to place down cards as well. So I really recommend putting Familiar Face in your deck because it's a great first card. So here we have 4 Familiar Faces. Put them right there. It's also a good idea to have other options when you're putting down a ton of cards like this. So I do have other options. And there will be a lot of other options to... I will have all the cards sorted on the table, so it'll be really easy to find the cards that you want. And if you really want to copy the deck that I'm giving out here, you can. You know, I mean, do what you want, really. Okay. Something's wrong with it. If I had planned this out, this would be really easy to get, but... whatever. I'll just grab another card. Next up is Knight. He is a great card, very balanced. If you're looking for any nice B ranks, I know this says C rank. I think his first stage is a B rank, so keep that in mind. I'm only adding his first stage as well because I don't like committing to cards. They really, I don't know. I might just stick with one copy. Maybe not. Sorry, this is gonna be a slow video if I can't find anything. Oh my gosh. Okay. Come on. Last stack. Well, whatever. I'm actually gonna skip to my next card so we can keep going. Candle Knight is another card to look for. These are all some pretty basic cards, but that is important when you're making decks to have a card, like enough cards for you to have a decent hand when you are in that kind of stage. Wow. Really cannot find anything. Yeah, I'm only going to be grabbing first stages of these cards because, yeah, I'm making a deck for earlier starts. Not to say that you shouldn't make decks for later starts, but just to keep this video semi-short. I know we're already at like 25 minutes, but to keep this video shorter, I'm going to be only making like a 20 or 30 card deck. Okay. Contrary to what I said earlier. So here's another Canaanite one. I have 3, and I think that's all I'm going to be using. So 3 Canaanites. Next, if I can find it, I would like to add a knight. We'll see if I can find it. The rest of the knights. Timmy Rebel. I know he's similar in ways to Familiar Face, but he's kind of a trap. Do not use him. I didn't purposely leave him as a trap, but now that other cards have released, he's kind of weak, so I don't recommend using him. Anyway, I think we'll just stick with 2 knights. So this is 5 plus 4, so this is 9 cards of our deck already. That went fast, actually. So we're gonna keep with this. This is gonna be our attackers. Next, I think we should switch to some item cards, or it might be a good idea to do the mages. So personally, I really like using Ink Traveler. It's a really fair mage. It does cost 5 time to place down, but you can deal with it once. It is definitely an advantage to have it in your deck, is all I'm trying to say. I would put at least 2 of these, but for this deck I want 2. But I would put at least 2 mages in your deck. They're kind of interesting when you play them, so just be aware. There we go, that's 2. So next up is defenders. So defenders are pretty interesting. I wouldn't actually say that you really need to have them in your deck, especially if your deck is already pretty good without them. In that case, I would just not add them in the first place, but I'm trying to make like a simple but effective deck that can counter many things. So I will be adding 3 Bundled Up, which is my favorite defender. I'll add 2 of the first stage and then 1 of the second stage. So here's the second stage. Let me just find another first stage, and then we'll be good to go on to our next little thing to find. I'm only finding second stages. There we go. There's our first stage. Alright, so that's... Yeah, I would say attackers are definitely the most important card in a deck. In this deck, at least. Next up is the archers. So archers are pretty interesting. They're definitely on the better side of cards. Although, if you're looking for... They can hit anything compared to the attackers, which can only hit in front of them. Although, eventually, limitations will be put on archers. Not right now, because everyone's still getting used to the game. But probably in a couple months, I will release limitations. Pretty much making archers as good as attackers. Oh yeah, okay. So for my deck, I think I'm gonna add Harim the Destroyer, 1 out of 4. I don't really feel like doing the other stages. It is a 4-stage card. Another thing, you don't have to put all the stages of the card into your deck, so you don't have to have all 3 of the Candle Knights, or all 2 of the Bundled Ups, or all 4 of the Harim the Destroyers. It's just different powered up versions. So keep that in mind. It's another thing to know. Okay, there we go. Just found my 3rd Harim the Destroyer. And now I will be adding a card or 2 from our good event card list, whatever, pack. So there are quite a few of these cards, but for our deck, there are definitely ones that are better than the other, that are better than others. Oh my gosh! So the one that I think I am going to use is, excuse the wrong name, should be Mercenary, the Mercenary. So we'll be using this card, which is the Mercenary. It incorrectly says Bounty Hunter, just a printing error. His ability makes him stronger whenever a knight card is placed, like whenever a card with the word knight on it is placed. To complement this, will I guess be nice to also add the Candle Knight, Underworld Warrior to that. I think we'll add one more Mercenary. There we go. By the way, the Mercenary is D rank. His stats are definitely less than good, but if you can place any cards that have the word knight on them, it's definitely nice. Anyway, next up is tool cards. So for this deck, I'll only be using the first form of tool cards. It should be known that other decks might use kind of enhanced versions of tools. We're not doing that in this deck because this is supposed to be an easier to play deck. That's why all these cards seem pretty basic. For example, we just put Candle Knight Sword as a tool in there. There's a Candle Knight Enhanced, which you need to place the Blacksmith's Blessing, which is this card right here, to use. We're not doing that in this one just because, I don't think it'd be wise to put that many complex cards in our deck. If you want to do that, go right ahead. But if you want to stick to this deck, we will only be using basic versions of tools. So right now I have a Riot Shield, 2 Candle Knight Sword, and an Ink's brush. I think I would hope to add one more Candle Knight Sword, which is this one. Found one in color. And that'll be it for our tools. I know it seems like a lot less than anything else, but it's just how it is with tools. I feel like they're not good enough right now to really be focused on. Sorry, the camera's been out of focus this whole time. I just focused it. Anyway, on to our next part, which is item cards. So let me show off an item card real quick. Oh, this is a good one. So, this is the smartphone. So, it shows the amount of time that they're used for. You really have to know the game to put any good item cards in. This one, search your deck for a character card, tool card, or item card, excluding any rarity above diamond rare. So, we're gonna put 2 of those in there. They're really, really good item cards for obtaining cards that you need to use so and so. Let me see if I can find another one. Can I find another one? So, yeah, overall, I guess we'll add 3 actually. So, there's 3 item cards. I will also be adding 2 data spikes. You may discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. It does cost 5 time, but once you have a good time generation, thwarting your opponent's plans is definitely a good thing. That should be our deck. I'm gonna count this up and make sure we are under 40, which I'm actually pretty sure we are. And then we'll sleeve this up and see how good it plays. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's cool. Alright. So, 30 card deck, according to my rulebook, which I will get right now. And, by the way, everyone who attends the event will get a free rulebook. It looks like this. I can't even get it all in frame, but it looks like this. It'll have a back, you know, and it does tell you what your starting hand would be for different sizes of decks. So I already know, so I'll just say it, what a 30 card deck's hand is. I'm almost sure it is 5 cards for a 30 card, or for 5 cards for a 30 card deck. So it's a 5 card hand, it says right here. So at the start of your game, you are given 17.5% of your deck as a hand. So 7 cards for a 40 card deck, 5 cards for a 30 card deck, 4 cards for a 20 card deck, 2 cards for a 10 card deck. So the limitations of smaller decks are definitely there. I do not recommend making small decks, but do as you please. So I guess I'll just keep this rulebook near me in case I'll use it. So now let's sleeve it up, and I'm gonna use it against my main deck, and we'll see how it plays. Oh yeah, so for anyone wondering how to sleeve paper cards to make them as thick as normal cards, I will show off how I did it at least. I have a bunch of Pokemon cards here, and I know this isn't the, this is the official Donk channel or so, whatever, but this is definitely not an official way to do it. So I have a bunch of Pokemon cards, just bulk. So what you do is you put them downside like this. You take a sleeve, so reflective. Okay, then you take a card, pick up the Pokemon card sleeve. You just put it behind, so just looks like that. And then you just open up your sleeve. This is really hard to see on this camera. You open up your sleeve, and you put it into the sleeve. And so now, it's as thick as a normal card. If I can find one. There we go. Okay. It is as thick as a normal card. I know you can't feel it because you're not here, but trust me, it works. And it works surprisingly well. I can't even tell the difference between most of my deck is paper cards with these Pokemon cards with them in them as well. I cannot tell the difference because I do have real cards in the deck as well. So I'm just going to quickly go through this as fast as possible. I hope this does not turn into an hour-long video. But do not rush your decks, especially if it's your first deck or something. You don't really, I mean, if you don't have the time to spend time on the deck, then I guess do what you want. But it is always a good idea to take it slow for the first time at least when making your decks. So put these back here. These are some pretty huge sleeves. Like, they have a lot of siding to them. They're not perfect fit. A lot of sleeves happen to be perfect fit, and because of that, a lot of the paper cards that I'll be giving out will not be as big as the normal card size. So really, I suggest you use sleeves. It'll look really weird when you're playing with these smaller paper cards and, you know, everything else that's going on. And for the type of sleeve, personally, my recommendation is Dragon Shield. But that's my recommendation. And I say that because, well, I'm willing to blow decent money on this stuff. Dragon Shield sleeves happen to be kind of expensive, and I do not recommend people that are just looking to get a taste of the card game to really blow their money on. They go about, I bought one for $15 at my local GameStop. A pack of the Dragon Shields. They give you enough to make at least 2 donk decks. They come in like 100 packs. So, I mean, it's like $8 per deck, $7 per deck. That might even be more than what you end up spending on the deck if you're mainly going off of free cards. So just kind of beware. I would, if I was on a budget kind of thing, these Ultra Pro deck protectors are perfectly fine. A lot of them tend to snap, but with the smaller kind of sized deck, like the smaller deck requirement of donk cards, you will definitely have enough, even if some do end up snapping. And their sleeves, they protect your cards, so yeah. Pokemon sleeves actually work just as well. No, they don't. Just kidding. Older Pokemon sleeves are pretty bad. I think the newer ones are actually increasing in quality, which is really nice to see. I have quite a few sleeves, Pokemon sleeves. Here, I got a ton of Celestial Storm ones. I honestly do not know what this sleeve is, but I have a lot of sleeves here, and a bunch of them are old. They actually split really fast. That's why I'm not sleeving it with the Pokemon cards. I'm honestly not going to use Pokemon card sleeves very much anymore, so I wouldn't even recommend those. Well, I would recommend newer sleeves. I think the first time I noticed a change was Astral Radiance. They had these matte sleeves and compared to the glossy ones that we're used to. Those were pretty high quality. My dad plays a lot of Pokemon, so he kind of just uses the ETB sleeves for everything. And you can definitely see a change. They feel a lot better, but I still don't advise using them. Definitely get some actual sleeves that have a bit better quality. But if you're making a fully professional card deck, you do not have to use sleeves. But a lot of the newer cards, like a lot of the cards that come at these events, will be pretty cool. And none of them will be professional, sadly. Eventually, when we get to that level, it will become professional. But right now, they're just not. I'm glad we could get this video in under an hour. I'm just going to be shuffling these around a bit. I will not be playing a game, but I will be doing a few simulated hands. And I'll be rating them. Just a few, though, to get you an idea of what the deck's going to be like. I'll actually just put the deck list and description of this video. Yeah. I know this may be hard to get. Like these, like some of the cards will be hard to get, since you do need to win a few games to get those promo pack cards, but you can really battle as many times as you want. So if you're doing everything right, you will win a few games. I'm positive of it. No one's really playing competitively yet, so yeah, I think you won't be no one will really be that good to dominate. Okay, we're almost done. A few more sleeves. So, from what I've learned over the past bunch of games that I've played, I now finally have a basic time gauge of how long a game could take. So, on the long end, the longest game that I've ever played was about an hour and a half. That was excruciating. But that was because when I was playing, I was testing out a few things, and our turns were really slow. I think it was one of the first games that we had played. The minimum was under a minute because I got eliminated on the third turn. But that's not really going to happen very often. Alright. So an average game should take from 40 to 30 minutes. Well, 40 to 20 minutes actually. So yeah. Alright, let me put away some of these things. And we can get into simulated sleeving. Simulated hands, or whatever I'm calling it. Alright. So, I'm just going to shuffle this deck real quick. I'm going to do this off screen because it's hard to shuffle on screen. I mean, I'm in like an uncomfortable position when I'm making this video. I need a setup. Okay. I don't know if there's that many people watching, but I need some feedback. If I'm talking too much, please tell me. I think I've been rambling on for about 50 minutes now. It's not really something to be proud of, but whatever. I was gonna have Dalton make some decks and just be in the video, but that could not happen today. Next video, I think he will be in it. Alright. I've quickly shuffled, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the hand is Canaanite Sword, Ink Traveler, Harim the Destroyer, 1 out of 3, so, and then bundled up 1 out of 3. So I think you can place this, you can use this hand. What I would recommend is that you place down the Harim the Destroyer first, and then, actually I think that's the only, no, you could place the bundled up. Some standard format users might say that it is a rule for you to place down an attacker type at first. It's not a rule. You can place down anything, actually, like anything at all, with the 3 times. So it has to be C rank or D rank. And if you can't place anything, you have to redraw your hand. That was a risky hand. Let's see if this one's any better. Canaanite Swords, Data Spike. Okay, this is a lot better. Okay, so this is Familiar Face and Canaanite's one. So if I would play this hand, I would put down the Familiar Face first. You'd have 1 time left over from that. And then you'd gain another one from placing this down. So you'd have 2 time. And the next turn, turn 2, you'd actually be able to place down the Canaanite as well. And that's two guys placed down already. That's very, very nice. Overall, this deck is pretty decent. If you can get a Familiar Face in your first hand, you're doing pretty good. 2 or more, you're set up for success. You'd have to have a smaller deck to make that happen. But then you get the smaller hand and it's not as good. Okay, Knight. Ooh, Familiar Face. Ooh! Okay, this is really actually kind of a good deck. I might actually promote this deck. That's a really nice hand. 2 Familiar Faces. So you can actually play 2 cards on your first turn, even though it's designed for 1, because if you do have 2 D ranks, you are actually able to place down both of them. It's very interesting, and you will have 1 time left over. Next video, I think we will be playing a game or 2. And yeah, I'll be putting the deck list for this one in the comments. Anyway, that was it. Remember, the event is happening on April 19th at Poklima Park. It goes from 11 to 3. Come if you're interested, really. It's like a place for anyone interested in Donk. We'll be selling stuff there as well, limited events. There's a lot of free stuff. So yeah, just show up. Alright, see you later.